Welcome back to the We See Monsters channel. I have some more Cryptid and Skinwalker content for you all today. But before I get started, I just wanted to give you a fair warning. I do currently have laryngitis and my voice probably sounds pretty awful this week, so I do apologize. I certainly would never leave you guys hanging though, so I will try my best to get through this week's stories as best as I can. However, the We See Monsters podcast is being postponed another week due to me being sick. The story takes place in Yosemite National Park in August of 2017 with my two best friends, Zach and Andrew. Zach had worked that summer as a parking agent at Glacier Point and was pretty familiar with the area. One of the nights there, we decided to watch the sunset over the falls. It was a great hike that Zach had done before. The trail was about 4 miles to the top, with about a 2,000-foot elevation gain. We brought food and decided to hike up and take a swim and eat at the pools on top of the falls. We set out a couple hours before sunset. As we approached the top, we were about a half mile when a guy about our age, early 20s, ran up to us from bushes, frantically asking for help. His friend had fallen 50 feet off a cliff and had a shattered femur. Zach was used to this. After working in the park all summer, he had seen many injuries. The man didn't have cell reception, but I did, so I called 911 and reported the accident, requesting search and rescue. After a few minutes, we decided we wanted to continue the hike after search and rescue assured us they would be there soon with a helicopter. We told the guy help was on its way, and we continued the next half mile up to the top of the falls. When we got up there, we got an amazing show as we saw the helicopter land to pick up the injured guy we just encountered, right below us. I'm a private pilot and Air Force aviator, so I loved every second of watching the helicopter land on the mountainside. After the sunset, we began the hike down and passed the spot with the injured guy, and search and rescue was taking care of him. We had a brief encounter with them and they thanked us for calling it in. It was now dark and we continued the hike down. There wasn't much light, so we used our phones as flashlights to see the trail. And this is where the story gets interesting. The top of the hike was switchbacks with a steep incline on the right and a steep decline on the left with shrubs and trees. It was definitely too steep to hike down, hence the switchbacks. After 1 mile into the hike down, Zach was in front with a light, and I was second, also shining my light, and Andrew was in back. Zach was shining his light ahead and saw something sticking out from behind a tree that was about 15 feet in front, just off to the right of the path, and instinctively, he shined the light at it. That's when whatever it was exposed itself from the tree and ran across the path, down to the left, and down the steep grade. It ran on 2 feet and resembled some sort of a humanoid. It was a little shorter than us, and very clearly had 2 arms and 2 legs, but it moved in an inhuman way. It kind of resembled a person. It had a head and its limbs, but it appeared to be just skin, no clothes on at all. We all 3 saw it and stopped dead in our tracks. We continued shining the light to where it ran, down to the left side of the mountain, but didn't see anything after it ran down. We were absolutely terrified, none of us really knowing what to say, because we had no idea what we saw. The worst part was that we had another 3-mile hike down, and 1.5 miles from the trailhead to Zach's house, all while knowing that this creature could be stalking us and was near. Luckily, we made it to his house terrified and exhausted, but without harm. Whatever it was must have been just as scared of us as we were of it. I've done some research, and my best guess would be a Skinwalker, but it didn't try to lure us into the forest with it. We had another experience a couple years later in Tioga Pass, right outside of the Tioga gate of the park. We were camping in a closed campground in Tioga. In the middle of the night, I woke up to go to the bathroom, and before exiting the tent, I saw an orb about 5 feet away, floating across with a bright light. I don't think it was a person because Zach, Andrew, and I all saw the orb floating across, and there wasn't anyone around us. Our friend, Jackson, was also in the tent, and in the morning, he told us he felt rocks getting thrown at the tent all night, along with hearing footsteps all night long. We all know what we saw, and we all know that it was not human. For more spooky content, you can click the links below to check out my TikTok and listen to the We See Monsters podcast.